Hello and welcome to another edition of Slammin Synapses right here on Facebook and YouTube. Once again, this installment will be submitted for possible inclusion on pwinsiderextra.com. As always, they have a great site there. Check out their sister site, pwinsider.com and pwinsiderelite.com. Elite's a great paid site with a lot of great video and audio. This week they have a segment called Simonology with Mike Johnson and Nova, Hollywood Nova, whatever, in Simon Dean, whatever you want to call him at that particular time, Mike Bucci. It's a great segment. Can be a little bit on the rough side, but it definitely gives a gritty, in-depth look onto the world of wrestling as it is today. Last couple of segments have been going a bit long, so we're going to do it this way. We're setting the timer on this thing. As you can see, 10 minutes, 58 seconds, blah, blah, blah. When this rings, we'll stop wherever we're at. So, without any further ado, here we go. Never before have I done a segment where I've talked about the same thing through week in and week out. Well, this is one of those segments where the CM Punk angle that was on WWE, and pretty much this week I did DVR it and watch it. But that show I was more interested in that particular segment, so I was like fast forwarding through it. And I thought, as always, very good segment. It's like CM Punk is going out the right way. He's going out the Chris Jericho way. It's like I'm leaving, but while I'm leaving, I'm going to do my best to get whatever show that I'm on built up, so that even if I don't stay around, I'm going to get it over. As opposed to saying, oh, I'm leaving and to hell with everything. But he's going out the right way. Cutting promos the only way he knows how. And if he stays, he'll be good. If he leaves, then I could see him doing the Chris Jericho route, staying out a bit, recharging his batteries, checking out other possible options, and then possibly coming back to WWE in the future. I can't see them not bringing him back at some time in the future. It's just a matter of when and if. And as someone would say, hopefully it's more the if than the when. Hopefully it's more the when than the if. But he definitely has been doing a great job in getting over his Money in the Bank match against John Cena. Now, at the end of that night, Punk could walk out. Money in the Bank winner could win the title. Money in the Bank winner could lose the title or not gain the title. John Cena could walk away still with the title. You never know. But basically, I've gone from, okay, I probably will catch this, to, okay, I'm going to watch this, to probably ordering it so I have a copy at home, as opposed to waiting for the DVD later. But we'll see how that goes. But I definitely can assure you that I think we're in for some magic that night. So yeah, it's been a great segment, great promos by him, that has gotten Money in the Bank over more this year than previous year. And that is saying a lot for one of their B-level pay-per-views. So that's it about that. Yokozuna Memorial is going to be coming up October 1st, Harrah's Casino in Harrah's in Chester, Pennsylvania. Don't have any matches yet, but keep it tuned right here for more information. It's the Yokozuna Memorial 2, Gone But Not Forgotten, 10 years in the making. More information as it becomes available. Doing this for a friend of mine, for Samu himself. So, more than happy to do so. More than happy to give coverage and air for this. So, what else? Okay. So, this is going to bring me to the main topic that I brought up last week. If you remember, go back and view my last week's show if you haven't. Hit pause and join me back when you do. As you remember, last week I showed you the title. The U.S. Heavyweight title is that. So, it's basically how it goes. This, and we're going to take care of kill two birds with one stone here. This is how you wear a title. Now, I do happen to have one of these. But usually people like drag it along, or put it over their shoulder, or do this, that, and the other thing with it. They play hopscotch with it, or jump rope, or whatever, and they do all kinds of things with this. But this is the way a true champion wears the title. I mean, if you remember Ric Flair would come out, he'd have his robe on, covering the belt, he rips it open, and it's like, there it is, the heavyweight championship. You would also see people like Rick Rude do this. He'd wear the robe, he'd pull it over, he'd do the little gyration, doohickey, and there it is. It wasn't over the shoulder, it wasn't like every place else. This is how champions wear a belt. This distinguishes them as the best, not disrespecting it by dragging it here, there, and everywhere. So, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth as to titles as it pertains to wrestling today. If you remember back in the day, if you were the United States champion, that meant you were the number one contender to the World Heavyweight title. Was no dispute about it. You were it. Now, granted, there were interim times like when Michael Hayes was the U.S. champion, and not to discount Michael Hayes, but there are times when they do interims for some reason. But if you were the U.S. champion, you were the number one contender guaranteed. If you were the Intercontinental champion, that was the springboard to to possibly move up to the world title picture. Titles meant a lot back in the day, as opposed to the way they are now. Nowadays, it's, look at the Intercontinental champion, for instance. I mean, granted, it's been on people like Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston and Kane and people of that nature, but it's also been on people like Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, and not to disparage them, but like I said, when you were a world champion, or not world champion, when you were a U.S. champion or an Intercontinental champion, that meant you were in line for bigger and better things. Not just as a passover, not just as a side note, you were meant for bigger and better things. But nowadays they tend to treat the Intercontinental Championship, the United States Champion, as secondary. It's like to look at people like Kofi or Dolph or Ezekiel. Well, Ezekiel, he could definitely be world champion material one day. But it's not like they book them to where you say to yourself, hey, they're going to be a world champion soon. They're going to be a champion one day based on their ability and such. No, it's just like this storyline that doesn't really push the title. They just happen to have it, but they don't push it as such. And that's kind of sad. Like I said, I remember when people like you look at Tully Blanchard. He was U.S. champion. Unfortunately, he was with Ric Flair, so you weren't going to see many world title matches there. But you look at people like Magnum T.A., Nikita Koloff, Lex Luger, Sting, who else? That's just to name a few. It's like they were believable as number one contenders for the World Heavyweight Championship. They don't do that nowadays. I wish they got back to that, to where all the titles were important. Not only the U.S. champion, not only the Intercontinental champion, but also things like the Tag Team Championship. Like, you would never ever see, like, the Rock and Roll Express take on Ric Flair in a handicap match. You would never see the Road Warriors take on Dusty Rhodes for the championship. Well, not for the championship. You wouldn't see them in a match together. You wouldn't see... What's another good example? You wouldn't see the Andersons taking on Ronnie Garvin in a handicap match. It just wouldn't happen. There was a reverence for the title, which isn't available, which isn't happening now. Nowadays, you have the World Tag Team Champions get beat by one guy, and that really undercuts the tag team titles. So titles should always be important, whether it be the people that's carrying them or the representation of it. So that when someone has a title like this, or a title like this, for instance, you could look at him and say, hey, that's a champion. That is a champion. as Gino Hernandez would say, I am your champion. I am your champion. And he represented it very well. So, I wish they did more of that. Hopefully they will get back to that someday. Who knows? Looks like I'm eating my time here. Next week we're going to go over any money in the bank information. Give some possible results there. Next week we're also going to go into NWA Worldwide Wrestling. I said I'd be talking about that a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to touch base with that show, with my thoughts, and if you want to drop me a comment, feel free to do so. You can do so at aguri@yahoo.com, or if you have a comment box down here, be sure to tap on it, give me your comments. If you want to subscribe to me, if you're viewing me through YouTube, you'll see a box up here to do that. Or if you use the phone, there's different option. There's an option in there for it. But by all means, do so. Keep up to date with me. And any comments that you give me, if I find them wonderful enough, I will read them on further installments. As a matter of fact, I do have one couple from a previous installment that was done a long time ago that I haven't touched on, but definitely going to do that here. Also with no, never mind. Oh, here we go. With regards to future installments, if you have anything that you may want to have me talk about, there is a history of WrestleMania that I plan on getting back to. As a side note, it's still going to be under the Slammin Synapses banner, but it's not going to be heavily promoted or heavily reposted. It's just going to be out there. So if you want to view it, timer's done. Pardon the interruption. Feel free to let me know. Like I said, we're going to get back to that someday. As a side note, got distracted here. Try this again. Perils of live video logging, and I'm so far into this, I'm not redoing this. But, like I said, if you have anything you want me to talk about, drop me a comment. History of WrestleMania, we'll get back to that. Won't be promoting it heavily. It's just going to happen. Like I said before, not going to heavily promote it. So just keep tuned, and have fun. So until next week, this is Albert Guerrero for Slammin Synapses signing off. Saying so long from ringside. Good night, everybody.